I first met Randy about 15 years ago when I signed up and then sponsored a t-ball team for my son Quinn, who is now off in college. The team was appropriately named the Legal Eagles, after my law office. It was, to say the least, an interesting experience. Certainly the kids showed up to play their form of baseball, which included chasing butterflies and other things. But as I watched, I saw this young coach, and yes, Randy, 15 years ago, you were young, with long black hair. Long black hair. I have pictures, Randy. And he took a very young group of kids and created what became the team to end all teams. And it sounds silly to talk about a t-ball team that way, but you had to be there. If you've ever experienced or seen the movie The Sandlot, it was that same type of experience. Randy was the embodiment of motivation and passion. The team was together for about 3 years, and what they lacked in age, ability, or knowledge, they made up for enthusiasm and experience in their first real sense of what it's like to be a member of a team. A lot of kids and a lot of parents have very fond memories of those years, and we thank Randy for that experience. That was during the early years of Randy's public service. Randy is currently a commissioner for the Port of Allen, a commissioner for Mason County Planning, on the board of the directors, Mason County Habitat for Humanity, on the board of directors, Mason County Economic Development Council. He is on Washington Public Ports Association's legislative and marina committees. He is a North Mason Chamber of Commerce government committee member, and he is a Relay for Life volunteer. Formerly, he served as chairman of the board and founding member of the North Mason Community Voice, as vice chairman and founding member of the Cancer Crusaders, on the board of directors, Pacific Northwest Salmon Center, as chairman of the board, Mary E. Feller Community Center, as vice president, North Mason Kiwanis, and yes, Randy's a very busy man. But working with kids, with and for kids, has always been his longtime passion. He is a member of 4 community advisory committees for North Mason School District. He is co-chair on the Athletic Advisory Committee. He has served on the Facilities Committee, Bond Committee, and the Council of Key Communicators. He has been recognized for his work with kids, including 3 awards from the North Mason School Board, 2 from the Washington State School Directors Association, and another from the Kitsap County Association for Early Childhood Education. Randy has coached and mentored over 1,000 kids during his 19 years of service to the North Mason Pee-wees, serving as the vice president for several years. From those that know Randy the best, he has been described as an honest and reliable guy who gives his all to any cause he stands behind. You may not always agree with Randy, but you always know where he stands. And when he stands with passion and commitment. It is my pleasure to recognize Randy Neatherlin as the Mason County, North Mason Chamber of Commerce 2011 Man of the Year. Randy.
Thank you, Rhonda, for breaking the ground and letting me be a little misty. My wife says it's the chemo, but the truth is I've always been this way. And I thank you very much. And Dan, you were incredible. The thing most people don't know is it's funny. You think for kids' sports that it's a bunch of people out there not wanting anything in return, but you'd be surprised. So many of them want something. And he was the very first sponsor that I ever had that never asked for anything. He literally was there just to help, and what an incredible thing that was. I'm so appreciative. You know, last year, Dan gave a beautiful speech, and I enjoyed it very much. It was nice and prepared. I prepared mine about a half an hour ago. I wrote about 10 things down on a piece of paper, so I hope you'll bear with me a little bit. This community took me in. There's a reason why I do all the stuff that I do. This community took me in. I came here when I was about 15 years old. Within a few years, I had a couple of businesses going, and I could not drive through this community without my hand out the window. Raining didn't matter, the window had to be down, because I was waving to everybody, because back then, you knew everybody, and everybody would honk their horn as you disappeared. I went away for a couple of years because my mother got sick, and I came back again, and literally, it was like I never left. I got my old truck, and The community just took me in so much that I've always felt like I owe them something, and so I've spent my whole life trying to pay them back for everything that they've given to me. I want to tell you a little story to help you understand why this year, although it seems tough and maybe a rough way to go, which, by the way, I'm 3 months now in remission of stage 4 esophageal cancer. So that means my odds are a lot better right now. But I'd like to tell you a little story of why that'll explain how I look at everybody and how great it is, and how even though I got this cancer, it was a blessing and a beautiful thing. Even if I go tomorrow, I can guarantee you that it was a beautiful thing and my life was beautiful. I cannot look up at God and tell him he has not given me enough. Aside from a 27-year-old daughter, I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old daughter. Boy, does God have a funny sense of humor or what. And the story has something to do with coaching and stuff, so you understand. And if I get a little misty, I've never told it without being able to break down a little bit. But picture a father whose son was autistic. His name was Shia. You may have heard the story. His name was Shia, and he was autistic, and he was standing up in the front on a podium like this, and they were given a big event to raise money, and to everybody's surprise, he slams his hand on the table, and he screams, "Where is God's perfection?" He says, "My son is autistic. My son, unlike yours, will never be able to count to 10. My son will never be able to read and write and do some of the things that your son and your daughters will do. Where is God's perfection?" Then he went on to explain his story. His son was able to attend one day of regular school. It's a way of helping to mainstream those that are less fortunate that way. He was able to attend one day of regular school. On that very first day of school, everybody's scared to death. They're walking through the field, and they see boys out there playing baseball. As they see these kids out there playing baseball, little Shia looks up at his father and says, "Can you get me in the game?" Now, little Shia had never played baseball in his life, never lifted a glove, never done anything. He flat had never done anything like that. And one of the things, if you've worked with kids that are autistic, the very first word I ever got was working with autistic kids, so this story means more to me than that. You could tell in their face. It's obvious. And other kids know it too. The father looked at him and he thought, well, what am I going to do? But he says, my son, I want to make him happy. So he went out in the field and he grabbed a boy and he said, can you get my son Shia in the game? Now the kid, looking around, looking for help, looking for somebody to come and save him and tell him what to do, didn't know what to do. And he looks at the father and he says, well, we're behind by a couple of runs. It's in the 8th inning. I guess we can put him out there, and if we get a chance, maybe we can let him bat or something. Shia was excited. He goes out there. They put a glove on him. He goes out in the field, literally standing there, never held a glove. And let's move forward a little bit to a point now where it's in the 9th inning. In the 8th, they had a few hits. They got closer. Now they're in the 9th inning, and they actually have runners on base, and they have a chance to win the game. Now the father, looking out there, knew there was no chance in the world they were going to let his son Shia hit that ball. It was too important. The game was on the line. But to his surprise, Shia was put up there to bat. To even more surprise, he was sitting there holding a bat in the wrong way because he'd never held it. He goes up there, and the pitcher looking at him could tell that something was different with Shia. It was pretty obvious to him. The pitcher on his own stepped forward 2 steps and lobbed a real nice, easy lob into Shia. And Shia swung, and of course, he didn't hit it. He'd never done anything. And out from the dugouts runs a kid on his team who grabs his back, puts his hand around him, and he's going to help Shia hit the ball. At that point, the pitcher looks at him again and steps even closer. Lobbed it in there, and by the grace of God, he connected with that ball. Just barely, but enough for it to roll right to the pitcher. Pitcher reached down, looking at Shia, everybody screaming, run, Shia, run to first. Shia had never run to first in his life. Screaming, run to first. They start pushing him out, he starts running. The pitcher looks over, it takes the ball, hucks it way over the first baseman's head. Way over the first baseman's head, so there's not even a chance. Now the first baseman runs after, gets it. Little Shia starts to go, he gets to first and is running, and they start moving and running around. And the guy behind first runs out to the field, grabs that baseball, figuring out what's going on. He takes it and he hucks it. He hucks it way over third. Little Shia's running second base, going around the corner, and everybody's screaming, run Shia, run home, run home. And if you picture this as a coach, everybody wishes to have one moment, one great time in their life like I'm sharing, like I'm getting right now, to be honest with you. One great time in their life. But little Shia, they're yelling, run home, run home. And again, he'd never run home in his life, but as he goes home, they finally throw the ball close to him just to make it look at, but he scored the winning run. Now the kids from both teams, now excuse me if I get emotional on this, both teams run out to the field and grab little Shia and put him up on their shoulders. Little Shia had just won the game-winning home run, and he was the hero of the game. And how many of you wish one day to be the hero of the game just once? The moral of this, and the reason why I tell you this story, is the father explained to him in that group, that was God's perfection. God's perfection may not have been in the mental abilities of his son, but in what his son had done for others and done to others and the way they reacted to him. And the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is I can tell you right now, as somebody that's just gone through all this, the beauty that I have seen is incredible. Incredible. God has blessed me in so many ways. People that I had issues with took it so personal that I got cancer. People that I didn't even know knew me or knew what I had done for them in their lives were coming to me crying and holding me and thanking me for all the things I'd done. And I can tell you right now, I don't deserve what I've been given by God, but I'm sure thankful for it. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is because you are God's perfection. Every one of you, and the things that you do, and the things how you take care of each other, that is God's perfection. And you prove it each and every day with all the things that you do. Now, my wife told me that I'm not allowed to say that I don't deserve this and I can't do that. And even though I used to box and wrestle and did a little bodyguard, I'm scared to death of my wife. And so I'm not going to say that. What I do want to tell you, though, is one of the beauties of being in the position I have been in and serving in all the different ways that I've been in is I have had the honor and the pleasure to stand next to so many heroes in our community. Some of these names won't mean nothing to you, but they mean a lot to me. People like Lee and Mary Swoboda, who, when everybody else was running away, like at times of Feller, were running in. Ken Van Buskirk put his name out there only to get killed for it for trying to save the legacy of another man. Rob Drexler, people don't know that every day he goes out and does so many different things, and he stands when other people would sit down. I guarantee you, he is proof that it's not just what you do when people aren't looking that counts. It's what you do when people are looking. That is the hardest thing. That is the true sense of integrity, not what you've been told, because it is so easy to sit down when you should be standing up. People like Jack Johnson gave a beautiful, actually it was terrible, public forum all by himself, standing up there in the front, scared to death, trembling with every word he said, but he stood up in front of everybody and he made himself count. For that moment, I looked at him, I thought, now that's a man of honor. People like Richard Knight, 50 years, one of the longest serving, or the longest serving fire chief in the history of Washington State. Brian Peterson and all his beautification projects. Now, funny enough, a lot of you know of some of the battles me and Brian have. It's kind of epic around here, but what people also don't know is he's one of the first friends I ever had here. And he still is. When diagnosed with cancer and I started to lose my hair, I got a text from Brian offering to shave his head with me when it came time to shave my head. This community is incredible. And I'm awful blessed to be connected with it. And my wife, most of all. A few years ago, my business was burnt to the ground. We start over, try and do things. Going through all this, my wife doing more than her share of taking care of our family financially and physically than she should ever have to. And I would like to ask that God bless each and every one of you, minus the cancer, that he has blessed me, because each and every one of you deserve it. And I'm so thankful for this. Thank you.